Hello and thanks for joining us on your channel of choice, Africa Independent Television AIT, and welcome to the Signature Show. I am Mwabozen Choku. Now, this Sunday, our focus will be on issue-based campaign. Now, in the run-up to the 23 general elections, is it a tall order? INEC says political parties cannot receive funds from abroad for their activities. That is the provision of the Constitution and the Electoral Act. But is there more or less to this issue? Plus, our thank you and corruption theory. Just stay with us. When the issues matter and the need to know matters.
The chief of staff of Nigeria couldn't go to his village because it was being occupied by Boko Haram.
Politicians and political parties have massively used money to buy votes and to change the course of electoral direction.
You will also remember the very APC itself set up a Rufai committee recommending sanctuary doesn't mean anything. Go back to federalism.
Or the fun and the fair to relieve everyday care.
Life is a riddle, my son. The land bled when Uvoranwen was put in shackles. Heaven wept when Saruwiwa was laid to rest.
Everything comes with the Just Too Funny. Everything comes with who I am.
The Signature Show, your show that matters, on AIT every Sunday at 2 p.m. Now, in the lead up to the 2023 general elections, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has admonished political parties to drive their campaigns on issues instead of name-calling, misinformation, divisive sentiments, and rhetoric that incite the electorate to violence. Now, political parties and stakeholders have bought into the INEC admonition. For the country to move forward, they say, the political parties should accept wholesale the position of INEC because it is the pathway to elections reflecting a need to solve national challenges. Now, there is, however, a challenge. A well-managed and national need-driven education should be the vehicle for national development. That is true. Nigeria's political elite are the very enemies of the Nigerian voter from whom they distance themselves immediately after using them to secure mandate. Very true. Need for citizen-centered advocacy in the journey to nationhood. Very correct. Equality before the law, rules and regulations, you can't debate that. Unemployment and hunger should not be contemplated in the degree they currently ravage Nigeria. Very true. These are issues that the how and the wherefore should be taken to the electorate by the political parties and their candidates. Unfortunately, hunger and poverty have created deafness among many Nigerian voters. They see the lips of politicians move on the podium, but only hear the rustling of naira notes and see bags of branded rice, branded beans, and what have you. And that is what they constantly vote for. The challenge of poverty to issue-based campaign is the subject of our special report this Sunday. It is written by correspondent Nasir Usman.
Branded bags of rice, branded bags of beans, and branded recharge cards for all networks have surfaced. They are being used, some say, to convince the electorate on the promises which the candidates giving out the items owed for them. Some others, however, call it voter-conscious buying, voter inducement. As Nigerians shortly return to the polls for the 7th time since the country returned to democracy in 1999, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been harping on the need for political parties to focus on issues.
I do not see how Nigerians themselves, with respect, and I mean it, the followership, do they want issue-based campaign? Or our insatiable appetite for getting wet quick had beclouded our sense of justice to know who is really a politicians that have the interests of Nigeria at heart.
The electorate is being advised to shun every inducement and vote according to how politicians convince them on the challenges facing them, their communities, and the nation. But for many Nigerians who are poor and hungry, are they in any position to resist materials overtones from politicians?
Democratization of poverty. I think it is deliberate. Subject the people, leave your people uneducated, so that you can bamboozle them, give them 5,000, 2,000, salt and Maggi. At the end of the day, they vote for you. And this has been a recurrent decimal for as long as our democracy has started. So, variably, thank God, for the first time, I am seeing a resurgence of awareness. Nigerians are beginning to know that 4,000 naira, 5,000 naira for another 4 years, even considering the sufferings Nigerians have undergone in the last 7-8 years. No, I really doubt.
Abin da ya damu a Najeriya irin kaman karatu haka, sai irin wutan nefa haka, sai ma'adanan ƙasa, sai asibiti. To su ne dai tun duniya na kwance da su ake kamfe. Tun duniya na kwance da su din dai da su kowa zo da su ake kamfe. Kaga da ana gyarawa da wata rana ba su za a zo a ce mana ba wani abun ne mun ci gaba wani abun za a ci. To har yanzu har gobe in dai za a kamfe da su ake.
Da maganar cewar ya yi zaɓe ya zaɓe shi ya bashi wani abu, to kar ya duba abin da zai bashi, ya duba abin da zai fi alkhairi wa al'umma a tsakanin shekara 4 ko shekara 8 da zai. Saboda in an ba kuɗi ba mamaki zuwa ɗan kwana 1-2 ya ƙare.
For Nigeria's lower class, life is a struggle. It is not a matter of living from paycheck to paycheck because there is no job anywhere. It is a matter of surviving from throwaways, from one rubbish heap to another. Do these Nigerians understand issue-based campaign? Or they can just be plugged by politicians with branded Richard cards, branded bags of rice, and clean branded t-shirts?
Na yi ƙarfin shekara 30, amma ina ga garin ba hanya proja, ballantana kwalta. Ramun da ke garinmu yanzu haka cikin ruwan nan dole aka saurara mu tahiyar motoci. To daga nan mutanen da suke zuwa su ce za su yi kaza, za su yi hanya, za su yi menene, ruwan famfo za a yi, duk ba wanda aka yi. Wanda ya bani kuɗin ba, shi zan zaba sosai.
Kan haka Allah don da ya mun kuɗi na ansa. Ko ba haka ba? Dole da ansa da kan ansa wahala da hina shata. Ko ba haka ba? Yawa, yanzu siyasar Najeriya ta koma ta kuɗi. Duk da dai abin da ake ba dacewa yake ba. Mai kuɗi shi ya ji daɗi, talamayar shi ko ya sha wahala. Haka ake siyasar Najeriya.
Ka san wasu na cewa wai mutanen Najeriya wai kaji ne wai sai da tsaba. Ko ba haka ba? Wato wani duk wahalar da ya sha yana mantawa da ita ne. Da ka zo ka zaro wani abu ka bashi, to kawai shi kawai zai bar ra'ayinka ne kawai, zai zaɓi wanda kake so.
There are those Nigerians who believe that the freebies and articles of voter inducement by politicians should not make any voter cast his ballot for any bribing politicians. In fact, they see the inducement materials as articles of guilt because they represent resources stolen from the nation's collective purse. These articles, they say, should be taken as of the right of voter and not a reason to change voter position.
For me, I cannot say my conscience. I'm not ready to tell my conscience. I cannot collect money from anybody.
So that you collect or you don't collect, that 4 years must surely come and go. But the best thing is for you to zero your mind and do what you want to do. Don't collect any of your things.
From the beginning, we normally sell our interest because of palliative and so on and so forth. But in this time, I want every Nigerian to know that we should not sell our conscience.
Well, I think it's a Nigerian mentality. They always give us, they will bring us down, give us 200 naira, give us 500 naira, give us 1,000, 500, 2,000. But can 2,000 solve our problem?
I know the right person that I want to vote for my own mind. But if you give me, I'll eat because all of us, it's our money that I used to do campaign. If anyone give me, I'll collect. But me, I know who I'll vote. and I know the right person to Nigeria that will take Nigeria to another level. Yeah.
How the Nigerian voter takes the INEC admonition on issue-based campaign in the midst of groveling poverty may influence the outcome of the 2023 general elections. In Abuja, I am Nasiru Usman for Signature Show.
Well, thank you, Nasser. But still on politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is warning political parties that they cannot be funded from abroad. By abroad, INEC has explained that this includes any and every country, not Nigeria, Benin Republic, Togo, Niger, Chad, Ghana, the entire Europe, US, all of them. Now, is INEC by this position putting too many possibilities into one envelope abroad? How does this affect support of the individual candidate, since both the Electoral Act and the Constitution as amended bar monetary donation to political parties and not individual candidates? Well, my colleague Marvelous Obomano has been speaking with INEC, lawyers and politicians. First, he spoke to Festus Okoye, himself a lawyer and INEC Commissioner for Information and Voter Education. Stay with us.
It's good to have you on.
Thank you so much.
All right, so sir, INEC has consistently been saying that politicians should not receive money from abroad as part of funding their election. Is this position supported by the Constitution and the Electoral Act?
Oh, definitely. You know that the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, as well as the Electoral Act, 2022, and our regulations and guidelines are the constitutive legal instruments for the conduct of election. Now, Section 225 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the ground norm of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which is the fundamental law, makes it imperative that one, that no political party registered in Nigeria shall maintain a foreign account. Secondly, it makes it clear that no registered political party shall also receive funds from outside the country. And that if any of them receive such funds from outside the country, that they must turn in such funds to the Independent National Electoral Commission within a period of 21 days of the receipt. So the Constitution, which is the fundamental law of the land, makes it imperative that they cannot receive funds from outside the country and that they cannot maintain foreign accounts so long as they remain political parties registered by the Independent National Electoral Commission.
So what is this punishment for fouling this law?
You know, the political parties are registered by the commission. They have the incidence of registration. Now, by Section 225A of the same Constitution, a political party can be deregistered for failure to keep to the tenets and intent of its registration. So political parties are aware of this, that it is not right and that it is unconstitutional to violate the fundamental law of the land. And secondly, if you also look at the Electoral Act, it also makes it clear that any political party that violates any of the provisions of the Constitution relating to maintenance of foreign accounts and so on can be proceeded against. If it's an individual that has violated the law, the person will face sanctions under the law. And if it's a political party, that same political party will also face sanctions and also lose whatever funds we are remitted to it from outside the country.
Okay, so the Constitution seems to focus on the political parties and not the individual candidates. Is there no difference between a political party and individual political candidates?
Well, individuals do not contest elections in Nigeria in the real sense of the word. If you look at the Constitution, it says before a candidate can be on the ballot, the candidate must belong to a political party and sponsored by that particular political party. So the candidates are subject to the political parties. So whatever a candidate does also revolves around the political party and also reverberates around the political party. And so no candidate is supposed to also receive funds from outside the country, because if you leave the door open, the implication is that a candidate may go and receive funds from an organization that is engaged in terrorism, or an organization that is focused on terrorism. They can also go and receive funds from countries that are hostile to the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that is why the makers of the law and the Constitution made it specific that such will not happen, and that the focus should be on political parties and not necessarily the candidates.
Does contribution from individual Nigerians, wherever they may live, supporting individual candidates with funds, undermine the intent of this law?
The position of the law is very clear. So long as you are outside the confines and jurisdiction of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are in diaspora, you are outside the country. If you are in Chad, if you are in Benin Republic, if you are in Sudan, if you are in Cameroon, it is the same thing. It does not matter that you are in Chad and you are not in the US. It does not matter that you are in Sudan and you are not in Germany. It does not matter that you are in Cameroon and you are not in Italy. The intent of the law is still the same thing. You are outside the shores of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the law and the Constitution says that you should not receive foreign funding. And that if you receive foreign funding, you must turn such funds to the Independent National Electoral Commission. Not only that, the law also says that you cannot receive funds that you don't know the source. In other words, you cannot receive anonymous donations. And if you receive anonymous donations, you must turn them into the commission. The importance of this is that at the end of the day, auditors are supposed to audit your accounts. And after auditing those accounts must be made available to the commission to also scrutinize and also laid before the National Assembly. And if any auditor assists any political party to falsify its books of accounts, the penalty is very, very severe. And if you have received money from a source you cannot account for, it will be in your audited accounts, and the commission can proceed against you, because in that circumstance you have fallen short of the provisions of the law, and you can be proceeded against.
There are two issues. The Constitution is barring political parties from receiving money abroad, and not the candidates. Because if I, Marvelous Ogbomanu, wants to contest for an election, and I have friends outside Nigeria who are wealthy, who wants to support my, ambition to becoming a governor, I mean, what stops them from supporting me? That is one. Two, if the Constitution is barring political parties from receiving money abroad, why did the Constitution also make opening to say that if the INEC finds out that political parties receive money abroad, they are supposed to remit that money within 21 days? And the Constitution did not make it clear what INEC does with that fund if so receives in the next 21 days. Please, can you clear some of these issues?
The accounts of political parties may be accounts that are in the public domain. And I give you an example. For instance, when political parties are conducting their primaries, sometimes they require candidates to buy forms. And when these candidates go to buy forms, they buy forms from the banks and make remittances to the banks, in which case the individuals who are contesting for various positions have the account number of the various political parties. So if they have the account number of various political parties, there is no way a political party can prevent funds from going into that account. What is important, and that is why the law is very clear, that if you did not authorize anybody to pay money from outside the country into your account, the moment you see it, you must remit that funds back to you must remit those funds to the commission. Moreover, you know that the commission charges political parties monies for administrative purposes, and the law also permits the commission to return funds that it cannot spend at the moment and open a separate account for it. So the commission is a public trust, it's a public institution that is also revenue generating in a sense. So the commission can retain such funds and also apply those funds for the purposes of executing any of his programs and policies. And when it's time for appropriation, the commission can also declare those funds and get it appropriated for the purposes of some of his activities. And let me also be very clear. We don't have independent candidature in the Federal Republic of Nigeria within our constitutional framework. What we have are persons who belong to political parties and sponsored by those political parties. So the candidate is the candidate of the party. You cannot get into the ballot without the signature of a political party, without a political party sponsoring you. And the Constitution has also made it very clear that if you're a presidential candidate, you cannot spend more than 5 billion. And that 5 billion naira must be spent within the confines of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and in Nigerian currency. You are not permitted to receive funds from abroad because you can never vouch for the intendment and source of that particular fund. And I'm sure the Constitution does not want anybody to use any political party or any political party platform or any political party pathway for purposes of money laundering. And you also know that it is not only the Constitution that deals with the issue of currency. There's the Central Bank that deals with the issue of currency. There's the Money Laundering Act and all other laws. Political parties are also, and individuals are also subject to these laws. And so we should not open the window to anybody to undermine the sovereignty of this country.
Thank you so much, Mr. Festus Okoye, for being a part of the program. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, but what are lawyers saying about the provisions of the law? Is it as simple as it is? Again, Marvelous Obomanu spoke with Jibrin Okutekpa, senior advocate of Nigeria, on the position of the law on this issue.
You're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, Marvelous. You look marvelously well.
Thanks for the compliment. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, says political parties will be barred from receiving money abroad recently. What is receiving money abroad?
Well, I do not know what the Independent National Electoral Commission is talking about. But as far as I know, Section 225, subsection 1A, thereabout of the 1999 Constitution as amended, prohibits political parties that are properly so-called registered, that have been recognized by INEC to operate as political party, from receiving funds from abroad or owning assets abroad. It prohibits them from also retaining such money should it be given to them or sent to them from abroad. Abroad means any fund that is received outside the shore of Nigeria, which means, for instance, if you receive money, if a political party receive money from Niger Republic, for instance, or Cameroon, or Ghana, or Togo, or United States of America, then it becomes unconstitutional, illegal. And that's why Section 85 of the Electoral Act 2022, as amended, prohibits or prescribes a penalty for such misconduct or such an offense. And it is that you forfeit the assets. You are also liable to a fine of 5 million naira if the political party is found by INEC to have done so. Now, at one breath, the Constitution prohibits political party from receiving funds from abroad. At another breath in the same Constitution, the Constitution says that where such funds are received by political parties from abroad or outside the shore of Nigeria, it should, within 21 days of receipts, surrender it to INEC. The question I ask is, if you prohibit a political party from receiving money from abroad, why then making allowance for the same political party when it so received the money to surrender it to INEC? If it surrenders it to INEC, What does INEC do with the money? The constitution is silent about it, and we are not told what will INEC do with it. Mark you, INEC had a budget. What will the INEC do with the money? Should he use it, or should it return the money back to the donor of such money? Nobody is told, and the lawmaker have not told us, and I cannot speculate what INEC will do. But let me be clear here that what the Constitution and the Electoral Act prohibits from receiving and retaining from abroad is political parties, or are the political parties. There is no provision in any of our Constitution for Nigerians living abroad from supporting me as a candidate of a political party, for instance. If I'm a politician and I have friends that are very wealthy and in abroad, and they want to support me to win the governorship of my state, for instance, and they are ready to give me money, I'm not political party, because in Nigeria there is no room for independent candidates.
So what if a particular statement or an issue, just like it is being raised by INEC, is not in tandem with the Constitution? What happens?
It's unconstitutional. If INEC cannot, nothing is an offense except the penalty for doing so is prescribed in a written law. So INEC cannot operate outside the Constitution. Political party cannot operate outside the Constitution. Individual can also not operate outside the Constitution.
Okay, now, so how does this become a threat to Nigeria's democracy and, of course, national interest?
What is a threat? Political party receiving money, or individual candidate being supported by Nigerians that are in diaspora? What makes Nigerians in diaspora less Nigerians than the Nigerians in Nigerian soil? If they chose to support me, not my political party, how does that become a threat to national security? Are Nigerians abroad less Nigerian than those in Nigerian soil? So, except of course, there is evidence that foreign mercenaries, foreign donors are people who are supporting a particular candidate or funding a particular candidate for unlawful purpose, then the burden shifts to whoever makes such allegation to prove it, and in an appropriate court of law.
So now, if INEC says political parties are not allowed and they are barred to receive money from abroad, what is the intent of the law and what is the Constitution trying to prevent? What will it hurt if it happens that way?
You see, let INEC have its eye well focused as to whether money are coming from abroad to political party. And this distinction is very clear. It's fundamental in law. What the law prohibits is what I keep saying. Why did the lawmaker not say no Nigerian politicians contesting election should be supported by funds from abroad? If you look at the Electoral Act very well, there is a ceiling for which presidential candidate must not exceed, political party must not exceed or should not exceeded in its political activities. But we are all living witnesses to humongous amount of money that were spent by individuals, even in the process of their party's primaries. What did INEC do? Could INEC have disqualified any of those candidates who were allegedly involved in the dollarization of primary or political parties in Nigeria?
Does INEC have the power to prosecute?
INEC may not have the power, but what castrated the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has the power to show respect and obedience to the law of the land that prohibits the use of dollars in Nigeria? Are you not living witnesses today that dollars have been freely traded contrary to the provisions of the Central Bank Act? Are we not witnesses to it? So my dear brother, my take on all of this is the fact that we seem to become emotionally interested in showing respect and obedience to law when those who are not in our good book appears to be coming in contact and having head-on collusion with the law of the land. But in doing so, we seem to also be emotionally pregnant when we misinterpret the words of our law or our constitution. I have shown you, and you can go and read, if you can find in the 1999 constitution as amended, where an individual Nigerians, whether he be a politician or a sympathizer of a politician, can be prohibited from collecting donations or from owning property abroad. Now, public officers are prohibited from having properties abroad, but are we not living witnesses to majority of our public officers having foreign account, foreign assets, properties, and nothing is happening to them?
Thank you, Jibril Samuel Kutepa.
Thank you, Marvelous. It's marvelous to have you, and I hope that the leaders will listen to this, your signature show.
We pray they do. Thank you so much.
Well, a little bit of controversy there, whether the law applies to political parties as corporate individuals or whether it also applies to their candidates. That's an issue that will be resolved in the course of time. But Obama also spoke with Honorable Divine Chike, Chairman, Diaspora Committee of the Labour Party, which has been in the center of this controversy because many Nigerians from outside the country say they want to contribute to the success of Labour Party in the next election.
You're welcome to the conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has been consistently saying that politicians will not be allowed to receive money from abroad to fund their political activities. What is the attitude of your party to what INEC said?
On the issue of raising funds from diaspora or from foreign countries, first of all, there is Electoral Act that prohibit political parties from receiving funds from international organizations or foreign bodies or foreign governments. But the act does not stop a candidate from receiving support from Nigerians in diaspora. There is different here. The candidate is free to receive support from Nigerians, citizens of Nigerians that are living in overseas, in diaspora. What the act says is that political parties cannot receive funds from international organization or foreign government, not to influence our government for whatever reasons. We can understand that. So basically, my office as the chairman of Diaspora Committee for Labour Party is basically for Nigerians in diaspora. I'm not interfacing with foreign government, neither am I interfacing with foreign organizations. I am only interfacing with Nigerians, citizens of Nigerians who are privileged to live in diaspora. So, and they are free to support whoever they wishes to support back home for any candidate they wish to. So there is no cause for alarm.
So do you consider the position of INEC as preventing Nigerians, wherever they may be, from identifying with political development of their country?
For me, it's not really preventing the Nigerians in diaspora. In fact, if they want to prevent Nigerians in diaspora, why the proposal to the National Assembly for diaspora voting? Because as we speak, there is a proposal in the National Assembly that is waiting for approvals and passing into law for INEC to conduct election in the diaspora. So I don't think that if there is such a proposal for them to perhaps be eligible to cast their vote, then the act shouldn't stop them to support whoever they want to support, financially and otherwise. So I don't think that clause in the act is to stop Nigerians from supporting political parties they want to. Nigerians in diaspora to support whoever they want to support back home.
So what do you think this particular law is trying to protect? What is the intent of this law?
Which law in question?
Preventing political parties from receiving money.
Of course, other countries have similar laws. What they're trying to do is not to allow foreign bodies to influence our elections. Other countries have similar laws. What that law simply said: do not receive funds or receive whatever from international organization or foreign government. The law did not say that Nigerians who are in diaspora, Nigerians who are privileged to live outside the shores of Nigeria, not to support whoever they want to support. They are Nigerians.
So finally, before I wrap up with this interview, in Nigeria there is nothing like independent candidates. Any candidate must belong to a political party. Now the argument is this, that there is no candidate without a political party. So whatever a candidate does, or whatever the political party does, is in simony.
Sure.
So if INEC says political parties are not allowed to access money from abroad, they are also looking at towards the political candidates. What do you make out of this? Is there no difference?
But again, you ask yourself, my own office, I'm interfacing with Nigerians in diaspora. They are Nigerians before they left to wherever they are. And while they are there, they are still Nigerians. That they are out of this country does not stop them, does not cut off their citizenship as Nigerians. They are Nigerians. So now, mind you, if they want to support whoever they want to support, even as we have commenced campaigning, election is coming, they are free to come into Nigeria. They are free to come in here. If they have PVC, they are free to cast their vote here in Nigeria. I could have my PVC and maybe travel to London, UK, doing 1 or 2 businesses. During the election, I will come back and cast my vote. I am a Nigerian. I obtained my PVC from the INEC, and then at some point I traveled. If election is coming, I can decide to come back home to participate, cast my vote, support my candidate, support my party. So what is the noise all about? Nigerians, they are Nigerians before they left. So even from there, they can support. You see, what we fail to understand is this: every Nigerian in diaspora obviously have families here that they support, financial and otherwise. So if they can support their families here in Nigeria, they can as well, because the law allows parties and candidates to receive support from Nigerian citizens.
They are in Nigeria.
They are in Nigeria. And a Nigerian in diaspora can still fly into Nigeria, stay here, and support the party, support the candidate with Nigerian Naira.
Anyway, let me thank you so much for your input.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Marvelous. And now for our thank you and sweeper for this Sunday. Who can speak to Mr. President? I have a candidate for the job. His name, Chinagoram Onoha, a product of Orile Gomu, Lagos, where both human faces and fetus float in the gutter. Chinagoram Onoha knows life in the ghetto. Popularly called African China, which really means African children have ideas natural to Africa. African China, this afternoon, speaks to Mr. President and, of course, other political leaders as Nigeria heads to another round of election. It is our sweeper for this Sunday.
Food no dey, brother, water no dey, and our country no good oh. Everyday 40 day for whole night. One man wait it my omo dem go show him face for crime fighter. Rich man wait it money omo we now dey see their face for crime fighter. Tell me something I don't know why. Rich man go dey yalla pe ah, one man go dey shout. Rich man go dey yalla pe ah, one man go dey shout. They gonna lead us well. Don't let this nation to fall inside well. Mr. President, lead us well. If you be governor, govern us well. If you be senator, anytime well. If you be police, police well. Now they take bribe. They lead us well. Govern us well. If you be senator, anytime well. If you be police, police well. Now they take bribe. Well, you know they, brother, transportation not day, and our road is not good oh. Want a body nepa people oh, no get like. Everybody just say Allah. Well now they now how we want survive. Many youth ready for work but as work now they now how we want survive. Yeah, we be giant of Africa but to get visa enter Ghana now yeah. My God, policeman go see white, he go tell you say I say that thing na red. Tell me something I do to make on a lead us well. Don't let this nation to fall inside well. Mr. President, lead us well. If you be governor, govern us well. If you be senator, anytime well. Police well, now they take bribe. Lead us well. Govern us well. If you be senator, anytime well. Police well, now they take bribe. I like the way people can kiss the name of the party. People destroying people now the name of the party. Election for my country now party. Wayo, arranging on me. People wait for them things till they live in pain. This na disgrace, I am so ashamed. Don't collect shop permit, collect trading permit, radio permit. You see they burn shop, you want tell me say you don't know when them pay. Why you they make us they live in pain? Make gonna lead us well. No let this nation to fall inside well. Mr. President, lead us well. If you be governor, govern us well. If you be senator, anytime well. Police well, now they take bribe. Lead us well, govern us well. If you be senator, anytime well. Police well, now they take bribe. I'm a nothing they pa. Anything we pan and wish. I make put the summer no lele. Brother, water no dey, and our country no good oh. Everyday 40 day for whole night. One man wait it my omo dem go show him face for grand fighter. Rich man wait it money omo we now dey see their face for grand fighter. Tell me something I don't know why. Rich man go dey holla pe ah, one man go dey shout. Rich man go dey holla pe ah, one man go dey shout. They gonna lead us well. Don't let this nation to fall inside well. Mr. President, lead us well. If you be governor, govern us well. If you be senator, anytime well. If you be police, police well, now they take bribe. Lead us well. Govern us well. My God, anytime well. Lead us well. Police well, now they take bribe.
Well, and that's our program for this Sunday. But please stay with us for Corruption Today. I'm Wabozen Joko. Good afternoon.
My people, una well done this Sunday. How una dey? I dey pray say make poverty no kill anybody. Make longer throat no worry us. Make greed no sit down for our head. And make wayo and mago politicians no make us miss road for this 2023. Na me be your tori master, Marvelous Oboman. I dey welcome una to Corruption Tori this Sunday. My people dey talk say if person wey dey hit ogene change the sound of the music, person wey dey dance am go change his step too. That one come be say the way politicians dey take do mago to win election, e don too much. And INEC don kukuma tie wrapper for their waist dey wait for them for this election wey dey come. The question come be say why e be like say politicians dey like use wuruwuru and mago to win election? Wetin INEC and other law enforcement agencies go do to stop this kind thing? Na the matter wey we carry come today be this. Abeg, tanda with us.
This na Corruption Tori.
This 2023 election don dey come o. Campaign don start and political parties don join their candidates to begin waka to meet country people make dem vote for dem. Dem dey carry money, bags of rice, bags of beans and plenty other things to go give country people. But INEC say foul. Any party wey dem catch wey do that kind thing go collect red card. But talk na do no be so. How political parties, police, EFCC and other security agencies go help stop this magomagori style wey dey happen as we dey waka to enter the election proper? Corruption Tori gather people wey sabi for wetin dem dey call webinar to chook mouth for this matter. Chijioke Edeogo wey be Labour Party governorship candidate for Enugu State come talk say many country people no go school and they no know say the bag of rice, beans and other things wey politicians dey give them na their future they dey sell. Im come talk again say if political parties, country people, National Assembly dey tell politicians say talk na do and no be talk finish, nothing go happen. The politicians go stop mago. Rice no be broad o, beans no be good school, recharge card no be hospital.
In a situation where the literacy level is very low, the unemployment level is very high, where the government becomes the sole determinant of everything, access to wealth, access to employment, access to opportunities. So the Nigerian situation is basically a paradox. Knowing where to start from is difficult. We have a population that the literacy level needs to be addressed. We have a people that is still yoked to faith and religion and other non-important issues that ought to be sublimated to the national ideal. We have leaders, maybe the president, who makes a promise, maybe just as an excuse or a reason to get to power, even with a mindset of not implementing those things, because maybe he thinks that they don't suit a subnational calculation, or an ethnic calculation, a national calculation. So just power for power's sake is what was in focus, not to execute those things. So those items they mentioned, or he mentioned, or APC mentioned, or people mentioned, just becomes something to basis to get into power. Then the person will begin to implement what he has in his own mind. The bodies, the organs that should check such excesses, or such deviousness, or such manipulation, in this case, is the National Assembly. The National Assembly, is it properly a National Assembly so-called?
Tope Fashua, wey be presidential candidate for 2015 election, come talk say im body dey sweet am sake of say wetin INEC dey do to make sure say e no be kill and go like before, or corner and wuruwuru be the answer. Im come talk say this fight against wayo for election no be for INEC alone, but law enforcement agencies suppose wear their belt tight for body, because na some of the police, army, EFCC and other politicians dey use share money for election day o.
The vote buying thing is getting riskier for the politician, and that is good. We must commend INEC with some of the innovation they brought. They are also Nigerians. These people, EFCC, police and all of that. In fact, We've seen scenarios where the policeman on site is the one that's coordinating for the politicians, you know, the so-called vote buying. This thing. We've seen instances where the money, the 3,000 or 4,000 or 2,000, will be collected from the policeman who is there at the point where things are thinned out. The experiment we have seen with Oshun and Visha is because in all of those singular out-of-cycle elections, you will send two DIGs, 3 DIGs, 10 AIG and all of that. When it comes to the general election, you can't have that luxury. Everybody will be spread out. And in those villages, you know, nobody knows exactly what's going on in the villages. And a lot of things can happen. Eternal vigilance, IT, people being on location, taking pictures of what's happening, and all of that, you know, and to be able to challenge the process and to raise alarm. Those are the things that can help the process.
The talk man for Northern Elders Forum wey be Hakeem Baba Ahmed come show say true na elder im be. Baba Ahmed talk say if you see wetin politicians dey do to scatter election for Nigeria, you no go fit sleep. Im come use the Justice Uwais Committee report wey president wey dey before Umaru Musa Yar'Adua wan use make Nigeria election better to give example. Hakeem Baba Ahmed come talk say Nigerian politicians no dey like free, fair and credible election sake of say e no dey favour their wayo and their mago-mago.
Politicians corrupt the electoral process. There is no doubt about it. If you have honest politicians, you will have a good electoral process. The general rule is that most politicians would like to have an electoral process that they can tinker with, they can corrupt, and they can fix. The case of Umaru Musa Yar'Adua is both good and bad. Tragically, this is a man who came to power denouncing elements of the electoral system, the elections that brought him to power. And he committed himself on his 7-point agenda to reforming the electoral process. And he said so publicly. And he followed through sincerely by appointing the Uwais Committee. The Uwais Committee did excellent work. I knew what they were doing because I had been secretary of INEC from 2002 until 2004. I helped conduct the 2003 election. So, and I was a permanent secretary when Yar'Adua became president. And I knew a lot of what he did. The report of the Uwais panel is one of the best reports produced. They made huge numbers of recommendations towards improving the electoral process. Initially, Madam Umaru Yar'Adua got a few of us who were familiar with the system and who were working in government to look at the report and then draft a white paper. And you'll be amazed to find out that he agreed. We took 3 days explaining the technicalities and the merits of all the amendments they recommended. Incidentally, Professor Jiga was also a member of that committee. And he agreed with virtually everything that the Uwais Committee agreed on. 2 days were scheduled for the white paper. The first day, we went through almost 60% of the recommendations. Everybody, because it was the president's memo, it was the president's paper, virtually everybody agreed. The night of the first day, the president called me privately to see him, and I went there and he said, look, we have a problem. And when I asked what it was, he said, look, a few politicians just left here. They told me that I'm crazy. How could I just agree to all these amendments? If I do, PDP would never win an election. No party would want this kind of amendments because they will literally eliminate all the areas where rigging and abuses are allowed. And we have to go back to the starting point. And so I said to him, what does that mean, sir? He said, well, tomorrow we'll have to start from item 1, and I'm afraid I'm going to have to decline a lot of these amendments. I've been advised not to agree to this wholesale amendment at the same time.
Is a corruption theory.
My people, una don take una ear hear say wetin make our country dey where e dey today na greedy politicians dey cause am. They don dey waka like cockroach again. When they carry bag of rice, bag of beans, recharge card, wrapper, sewing machine, wheelbarrow, dollars,
and other plenty things come dey share for countryman. Abeg, make una ask dem this question. All these things wey una carry come, na im go make you better person? Abi na im go make Nigeria better? Abi na im go make hunger go? If you talk say na hunger make you go carry your neighbor pot of soup, hunger no go catch you again? Countryman, government, INEC, security agencies, make all of us join hands say no to mago for election. Abi e never reach time wey we go tell ourselves say our mumu e don do. Na here I go say bye bye for today o. Make we jam again next Sunday. My name na Marvelous Oboman.